Okay. What's going on, guys? Super Savage 789 here, bringing you guys a video doing what if Universe 6 beat Universe 7. This video is a collab with Lytro Storm, and without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So to start this story off, we're gonna need a change to make Universe 6 win. This is pretty simple. Hit doesn't decide to let Monaka win. Instead, he takes a shot and pops him out, and Champa takes the dub. Zeno would show up and express his support for the tournament and would want another to happen sometime. With that, Goku and the gang would return to Earth and Champa would use the Super Dragon Balls to swap Earth with Universe 7. Finding this out, Kaba would pull up to train with Vegeta, and so that would lead to him becoming far stronger. But before we continue, we need to address the future Trunks situation. You see, if Trunks goes back in time, does he end up in Universe 6 Earth or 7's? And that's a good question. For this video, we'll be saying he ends up in Universe 7's Earth, so he'd be in Universe 6. This is because he's still traveling to the same location on Earth, which means that he's going to end up on that Earth. Also, it makes things much simpler for us, since the Goku Black Arc makes Goku and Vegeta far stronger. So if we didn't let that arc happen, it would be difficult for power scaling, so we'll just say the Black Arc goes relatively the same. I'm sure Champa and Vados would handle things at least pretty similar to Beerus and Whis, so we can just skip over this arc. After that, Goku and Hit would have their rematch, and we would see Kaba training with Vegeta. After training with him for so long, Kaba has unlocked God Ki, and is now capable of going Super Saiyan Blue. He has insane potential, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. He's not quite as strong as Vegeta or Goku, but he's not that far behind either. And so eventually Zeno and Goku would have the talk about the next tournament. This brings up the exhibition match, which would feature Kaba instead of Boo. Universe 6 would wipe out Universe 9 like they did in canon, so now we can move on to the recruitment for the TOP. Champa did have a lot of involvement in the plans and who they got for the TOP, so I think he decided to leave half the team up to Goku and half up to him. I mean, Beerus did let Goku pick for their tournament and he would have won had it not been for Goku's pride, so Goku's half would be himself, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and 17. As for Champa's, they'd get Hit, Kaba, Cauliflower, Kale, and Vegeta. Now I think they would have considered the Namekians, but Piccolo would go along with on that trip. The idea was for all of them to fuse into one or two, but Piccolo didn't want that to happen. He wasn't going to give up all the Namekians' lives for this, as he knew he could handle it. They thanked him and wished him luck, and so he returned back to Earth. Also another reason for this is that Piccolo with all the Namekians fused would solo the tournament. Like if all of them fusing into Salanao and Purina made them that strong, and Piccolo was already relative to them, it would be insane. For reference, Nail's fusion is stated by El Manga Legendario to boost Piccolo by 5 times, and there's about 100 Namekians in Universe 7. If Universe 6 had a similar number, that would just mean Piccolo would get 5 to the 100th power times stronger, which is just insane. So we're going to be avoiding that for this video. Anyway, for the rest of the time they have, Champa will be strategizing with his team like originally. He'd give Kale and Cauliflower the Patara, as currently, they were the weakest on the team, but hopefully through some fighting they could gain more strength. Goku, seeing the time to spar, would decide to scrap with them just to see what they're capable of and boost them up. Cauliflower masters Super Saiyan 2, and Kale manages to reawaken her Berserker form, leading to Vegeta calling the fight off by going blue and smacking her down. Now the two of them were a lot stronger, and so Goku takes out Senzu Bean for all 3 of them. With that out of the way, Universe 6 pulls up to the tournament. Now I'm sure you're all wondering, we've got a stacked Universe 6 team, but what about Universe 7? They're missing Earth, which means their team is going to be entirely different. And right you are. Beerus would be insanely desperate. Earth was his main source of strong fighters, and he'd have nowhere to start. Whis then gives him the idea to search for more Saiyans. They do so and arrive on planet Vampa, where they find Paragus and Broly. Beerus explains what's going on to the two, and how they need to test their power immediately. Paragus admits he's extremely weak, but his son is incredibly powerful. Beerus scraps with him, leading to Broly's wrathful transformation and him adapting to the god. This doesn't put him anywhere near the level of what he was in the movie, as Beerus has to call off the fight to keep searching. This was good for right now. He decided that Vampa would be the new meeting place, so he told the two that he'd be back. Whis would tell Beerus that Paragus used to be part of the Frieza Force, and the god would be shocked. Please don't tell me you're saying what I think you're saying. Whis nods, and Beerus knows that Frieza is their only hope. And maybe they could look around Otherworld for more fighters too. They search around before grabbing Frieza, and this is the part where I'm going to put up a disclaimer. We're going to be using 2 filler characters here, Pikkon and Olibu. The reason for this is because if we don't, this team will be trash fodder. Plus, certain filler and super is referenced, such as Ginyu Bulma, Gregory, Koroni, Marin, and Oxkin's Castle Burning. So I think we can say that maybe these guys could possibly be canon too. Not saying they are, but I'm free to use them if I choose to because of that. Anyway, Pikkon and a weighted Pikkon after the Cell arc was capable of two-shotting Super Perfect Cell and later match-based Goku. Then, when he took his weights off, he beat up a Super Saiyan Goku, meaning that his full power was over 1,000 times stronger. This is due to the Super Saiyan Grade 4 multiplier, which Lytra made a video about that was just absolute fire. Like, OMG, it's so good at scaling. The video was a masterpiece. As for Lebu, he fought evenly with Wicked Pikkon and only barely lost. The two likely train as well, as they are both super strong. Now Lebu flexes his power a lot too, so it only makes sense. This means that by now the two would be insanely powerful. I mean, it's been like 10 years since the Cell arc, so I imagine Pikkon would be top tier Boost Saga at least, and Lebu would be mid tier. So now we've got 4 slots, and Pikkon would be asked if he knows anyone else in Otherworld. He would say that he bodied this one guy named Cell, and so Beerus would pick him up as well. Seeing no one else who's really impressive, they would go to Frieza and recruit him. Frieza would suggest Ginyu, as he had recently acquired Talgama's body, so he'd at least be decently powerful. At that point, they've got 6 members, and so in a comedic moment, Cell decides to make 4 Cell Juniors. Now they've got 10. I know someone's gonna be like, but what about Raditz and Nappa? But they are so fodder that if they did train, they'd probably die because they'd just be too weak. And if they survived the training, they'd still be relatively fodder to everyone else. That being said, Whis revives everyone and they head to planet Vampa to meet up. They notice that they do have enough time to put some training in to help the more fodder members raise their power. They're not going to use Whis' staff since most of the team is way too weak to handle that kind of training. Some of these guys have problems with each other, such as Cell, Frieza and Pikkon, so this is a good way of showing the pecking order. With the remaining time, the weaker members end up growing very strong, but Frieza knows this won't be enough if they're going to be facing the likes of Goku and Vegeta. During a sparring match, he decides to fire a beam at Paragus, making Broly enraged. This unlocks his Super Saiyan form, and now they're actually a challenge. Golden Frieza would slap him at first, but over time Broly adapts and becomes insanely powerful, even unlocking his full power Saiyan form. Upon seeing this, Beerus puts a stop to the fight, easily knocking Broly out. When he awakes, the god would tell him that Paragus was hit by a straight ki blast during training. Once everyone had recovered, this time would come and they would head to the world of Void. The TOP would begin with everyone starting out the same. Not much would really change until Universe 9 gets erased. Universe 4 Wolves would be eliminated by someone else, and now Goku vs Kale and Kefla wouldn't happen. Instead it would likely be Broly fighting them. However, he's gonna absolutely demolish them in base. Carb would notice this and back them up using Super Saiyan God. As Broly is about to use his wrathful form, Pikkon tells him to calm down. He can't waste all his energy so early in the fight. Broly calms down himself and the two escape. All the guys Roshi took out would be dealt with by the Cell Juniors, but Carb later arrives to easily knock all of them out of the ring. Cell knows that he can't handle this guy, and so he dips. Pikkon, Lebu, Ginyu, and Cell would be trying to eliminate the Florida people since they are pretty weak themselves. They take out people like, I'm gonna butcher all these names, Hemilia, the Preacho, Damon, Shansa, and Gamisaros. During all these fights, 17 and Cell would run into each other, with 17 being enraged seeing the bug. The duo would fight, and 17 just bops him out of the arena. So Cell would be easy to beat. Goku goes on to do his fight with Jiren, but Hit would also step in. With Goku and Blue Kaioken and Hit using his new techniques, they'd be a tough match with Jiren to beat. Hit uses the time cage and asks for Goku to attack now, however similar to the manga, he would leave him hanging. This leads to Jiren breaking out the cage and slapping Hit around, but Goku stops him from being eliminated. He then uses his Spirit Bomb and Jiren pushes it back, awakening Ultra Instinct Omen. He fights evenly with Jiren until he loses the power and is sent flying. It is then when Hit would pull up, asking Goku what was that for. Goku would say that he wasn't sure but it made him far stronger. He replies that he meant him leaving him behind. Goku responds that he didn't want to take him out like that. He still has limits to break and power to gain. Hit says that this was for his universe, and he doesn't care what it takes to protect it. The new form may be really strong, but if you put my universe in jeopardy again, I'll take you out myself. He then time skips away, leaving Goku to recover.
Toppo arrives, giving him a bit of energy and telling him not to waste too much of it. Without Goku vs Kale and Kefla, and Piccolo and Gohan vs Saunel and Purina, the tournament is really smooth for Goku and gang so far. Vegeta would be beating up Ribrianne and Rosie, and Cabba would return to help, going Super Saiyan to slap them instantaneously. Meanwhile, Universe 2's other warriors would attack Frieza and his squad. He would struggle, actually being overwhelmed by their attacks, and this pushes him to use his golden form where he easily slaps all 3 of them. But seeing the rest of their universe be taken down, they would still unlock their maiden forms as they did in canon. And Frieza would toy with them some more even in this new power, and so the 3 would unleash a triple attack. From behind, Ginyu would use his body change technique on Zerloin, as they were super strong and doing poses and stuff, so he'd really dig it. Frieza sticks out a hand to take the combined blast, and Ginyu now proceeds to attack the three with his new body. Since they're off guard, they'd be wide open for both he and Frieza to eliminate. As for Pikkon and Alibu, yeah, they'd get bopped by someone eventually, probably Mana, who Kaba would easily eliminate in base form due to his training with Vegeta. Broly once again begins to engage on Kale and Caulifla, and the two are getting obliterated even with Broly's base form alone. This pushes Kale to unlock her version of Super Saiyan 2, and the girls are now starting to keep up. Once Broly goes wrathful, they're absolutely demolished once again. Seeing this annihilation of his teammates, Goku decides to step in, but Frieza does as well, and he's determined to hold Goku off. Goku is drained at this point, so he knows he can't overpower Frieza. The two are fighting in base form, and Frieza is just knocking Goku around, while the same can be said for Broly to Kale and Caulifla, and with the other Universe 6 fighters occupied, they wouldn't have any help. Speaking of the preoccupied warriors, Piccolo, Gohan, and 17 would be off fighting against Universe 3's robots and bopping them. Vegeta and Kaba would be fighting Toppo together, and Hit would be finishing his business with Dispo. Because of this, Kale and Caulifla would eventually be forced to fuse, becoming Kefla. Now granted, she wasn't as strong as she was in canon since they had a shorter fight and couldn't adapt fully, but she was incredibly powerful even still. Using this power, they'd begin to match Broly pretty evenly even in his wrathful state. However, once he goes Super Saiyan, they would too, but this pushes Broly into his full power Super Saiyan mode, making Kefla go Super Saiyan 2. These two green-haired Saiyans would be unleashing their full power on each other, scrapping equally and destroying the ground around them. This stuns Frieza, giving Goku a perfect chance to recover enough energy to go Super Saiyan. Using this, he slaps the crap out of Frieza and Ginyu in his new body. At some point, the Potara would overload and break off of the two girls, leaving Kale and Caulifla on the ground, and Broly still trying to fight. Goku knows that he has to get out of there as he doesn't have the energy to use his full power, and even if he did, he would still be like no match for Broly if he just keeps on getting stronger like that. And so he grabs the girls and uses instant transmission to get away, leaving Ginyu and Frieza with Broly. Frieza goes golden to try and hold his own and calm the Saiyan down, but it doesn't work just like it did in the Broly movie. Ginyu also tries to swap bodies so that way he can control that power, but he would just be tossed out of the ring before he got the chance. Seeing this absolute beast, Toppo would arrive using his Justice Flash on his back. This hurt the Saiyan, so he turned around, and the two began to fight with Broly having the edge. With the Saiyan's growing strength, Toppo knew that he had to take him out now, and so he unleashed his God of Destruction form. At this point, he'd be kicking the crap out of the Saiyan. Like in his fight with Gogeta originally, Broly would be burning out, his pupils returning, and he would be slowly beaten by the destruction energy. Toppo attempted to take him out of the ring, but Frieza stepped in the way, taking a few hits. He knew that he needed Broly in order to win this. Meanwhile, Hit would have already taken out Dispo by now, as he had learned his fighting style and would just outscale him due to fighting with Jiren. Back to the fight, Toppo slowly approaches Broly, batting the approaching Magetta out of the ring in a single shot. Just as the Hakaishin in training is about to finish the Saiyan off, Frieza gives him enough energy to move, telling him to run. He does so, and the two barely manage to escape. Once the Universe 6 team has dealt with Universe 3, Anilaza would be born, and Goku, now at full power, would ask everyone to leave this to him. He unleashes a blue Kaioken and begins to scrap with Anilaza, but ends up being tossed to the ground. Luckily, he adapts to this and manages to survive a few more hits before awakening Ultra Instinct once again. Using this power, he'd easily dodge all of Anilaza's attacks and crack his crystal before hopping back and using a Kamehameha to eliminate him. This erases Universe 3, leaving only 6, 7, and 11. Goku now burns out, and so Kale and Caulifla protect him with all they've got. Their main source of strength is gone, so they might as well do something for the guy who's done so much for them. 17, Piccolo, and Gohan join in on Hit to attack Toppo, but unfortunately, compared to his god form, they're all just fodder. Piccolo gets dropped out of the ring, which makes Gohan fight even harder, and meanwhile, Vegeta and Kaba were both attacking Jiren. This leads to Kaba unfortunately being eliminated, but luckily Vegeta unlocks his blue evolution form because of this. Jiren then tosses Vegeta over to Toppo, and everyone else goes to attack Jiren. This leaves Vegeta to take Toppo down like he did originally, using his final explosion, and so, yeah, now Toppo's gone. The Saiyan tells Hit, Gohan, and 17 to go deal with Frieza and Broly while he handles Jiren. Luckily, once again, Goku would then arrive back at full power and would help Vegeta take Jiren down. As the others approach, Frieza goes golden and Broly goes wrathful. The Emperor is put to a standstill with Ultimate Gohan while Hit and 17 both attack Broly together, but this awakens Super Saiyan, and now he's beginning to handle them easily. This forces Hit to use his time cage once again, but Broly breaks out of it using his full power Super Saiyan form. 17 now knew that he had to do something to save Hit, and so he self-destructed to negate Broly's giant mouth beam. This left Hit stunned, and he rushed to knock Frieza away from Gohan. He tells the hybrid that they could use Broly to attack Jiren, and then come in when one of them was weakened. Gohan agrees with this plan, seeing as how none of them are really even able to affect Broly or Jiren. So he says that one of them is going to have to volunteer to be chased in order to make this work. Gohan decides that it's right for him to do it since Hit is way stronger, and so he fires many blasts at the beast and runs away. Broly now bursts past Hit, leaving him with Frieza. And at this point, you should know that Hit is easily going to batter this man out of the ring, though the Emperor would put up a decent fight. Now Broly came rushing toward Gohan and eventually caught up, eliminating him in one single blow. However, now he was faced with Jiren, as the two other Saiyans were left on the ground. Broly and Jiren then proceed to have an epic scrap, which would just be a giant battle at full power. With such strong fighters going at each other like this and destroying the ground around them, Hit would have to use his time skip to pull Goku and Vegeta away. As Jiren began to hold back less and less, Broly was growing more and more. Vegeta is mad that they're sitting on the sidelines like this, but Hit tells him that if he moves, he'll be off the ring faster than he knows it. Vegeta, knowing that Hit could take him out in just one hit, decided to lay there and watch the fight happen. Eventually, Broly's strength would become so massive that Jiren would have to break his limits and use his hidden power like he did against UI Goku, now finally being able to beat the Saiyan down. Luckily, Broly was still adapting, so it did take a long time for this fight to finish up, but once it does, Jiren would have burned Broly out and would use his power impact to knock him out of the ring. This leads to the erasure of Universe 7, as Broly was their last fighter. Seeing this, 17 got up and joined Goku, Vegeta, and Hit to fight Jiren. All of the others knew that they wouldn't really be a match, and that Goku's Ultra Instinct was their only hope. And so the four charge in together at their max power, forcing Hit to use the improvements he's made as he fought in the tournament. Unfortunately, Vegeta still gets eliminated by Jiren and gives his energy to Goku. Hit would then join the Saiyan in the final struggle with Jiren while 17 hung back and fired a couple blasts. This led to the two working together, doing everything to beat him just like they should have in the first place. So once Hit is eliminated and Goku takes another attack from Jiren, he reawakens Ultra Instinct Omen. And following that, he then completes the form. With this power against a worn-out Jiren from fighting Broly and everyone else, he would be able to eliminate him on his own, using the strength that everyone else helped him achieve. And with that, Goku would burn out once again, and so 17 would be the only one left to make the wish to revive all the universes. After the tournament, Beerus would then proceed to kill Frieza, Ginyu, Cell, and the Cell Juniors, as he didn't want villains that he'd have to deal with later. He left Broly, Pikkon, and Olibu alive though, letting them live together on Vampa. Later on, Berry Blue would send Chilai and Lemmo to find recruits, where they meet Broly and the others. Pikkon recognizes them as Frieza soldiers, and notes that he had seen many in hell. He tells them that they're not going to be joining, and Chilai, seeing people so strong, would know that she'd be protected here, and so she stays on Vampa with them. Lemmo would also do the same, as he seemed like a pretty nice guy. For Universe 6, the aftermath would include Kale and Caulifla determined to train with Goku to unlock Blue, and Kaba and Vegeta would revisit their training. Piccolo would also return to the Namekians and be praised as a savior, and 17 would get his cruise ship. Lastly though, Hit would be off doing his assassin gig, and preparing for another rematch with his friend, Son Goku. And that's the end of this story. As in all my what-ifs, we're not going to be covering any of the Super manga since we've been focusing on the anime this whole time. But I hope you all enjoyed this collaboration with Super Savage 789, and let me know your thoughts on this story. Also, let me know if you want to see more collabs with other people and also more with Savage. But as always, tell me if you like this part, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.